Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name's Courtney. I love talking about books, and today I want to do a wrap-up of all of the books that I read in October and November. I'm gonna at least try. I have my handy reading journal here to help me with all the stats and stuff. I don't know if I'll go into a ton of depth with some of these, means how there are a few of them that are already in reading vlogs, and a lot of the ones from October I don't remember everything, so we'll see. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna put up on the screen my October stats right here. Editing Courtney, put it here. But yeah, I read 11 books in the month of October, and I'm gonna try to do it in order, so let's get started. The first book that I read in October was Starling House. I just can't get over this copy still. Again, I'm pretty sure I already talked about this one in a vlog, but this was like a really fun, kind of like a unique take on a Southern Gothic romance. The vibes were perfect for October and for spooky season. And like I said, I do believe I read this one in a vlog, so I'm not gonna like go into super depth. What did I rate this? That would actually be really helpful if I got out my ratings for these books. Starling House, I rated 4 stars. And yeah, it was a really fun time. I actually was kind of surprised how much I liked this and how much I liked the romance. Our main character, I felt, was very kind of like gritty. Her family in general is kind of like it's a gritty situation where she's taking care of her younger brother. They're living in this like motel room basically, and there's this haunted house that people like talk about, and there's this mysterious guy living there, and of course she needs a job. She goes up, she knocks on the door, and he ends up hiring her. She's like cleaning this creepy house. The house is sentient. That was one of my favorite parts of this, is the sentient house that would like groan when it was upset and send like a warm breeze when it was happy. It was so cute, but also spooky, and I don't know, just very unique. So I had a great time with this. Like I said, if you want more of my like in the moment thoughts, I don't remember exactly what reading vlog I read this in. We'll see if I can find that and put it in the description, but yeah, I do recommend this one. It was very good. The second book that I picked up in October was The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Lori Gilmore. I don't know if that's like a pen name, being that these are like described as being like Gilmore Girls. So I don't know if that's like her actual name or a pen name, but this was really cute. I think I rated this, what did I rate this? Yeah, I rated this 3.5 stars. I wouldn't say it was like the best book I've ever read. The writing wasn't anything crazy. It was just like a quick, easy, fun read for the fall. Like, it's definitely giving fall vibes. Although in the actual book, I don't think it was fall, was it? See, now I think I'm getting confused with the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I think this one might have actually been set in summer. Again, guys, I read these, it feels like so long ago, like before I moved. I feel like I am in a whole another life now since I've moved. So 3.5 stars, like I said, kind of like middle of the road, cozy. If you want like quick, easy, fun vibes, I would definitely recommend this. I have not read Pumpkin Spice Cafe yet. I think that's the one that's set in fall. I think this one might be summer, and then there's another one called The Christmas Tree Farm that's obviously Christmas. But yeah, don't have much to say. The romance was alright. It was alright, basically. And that's kind of the consensus I've been hearing from a lot of people on that book. Hold on. Hair is falling. I'm actually going to a Friendsgiving after this, so that's why I'm actually ready for once. But okay. And then the third and fourth books that I picked up in October were Binding and Keeping 13, which I did a reading vlog for, so I'm not going to dive super far into these. I rated both Binding and Keeping 13 5 stars. This is one of my like new favorite series, like romance series, I would say. This is classified as YA, like you can find it at the bookstore in the YA section, but I do not really think it's YA. I mean, the age of the characters makes you think it should be YA, but the things that happen and there is some sexual content makes me not feel like it should be YA. I don't know. But anyway, the first 2 books in the series, which the series is called The Boys of Tommen. The first 2 books follow Johnny and Shannon, And Shannon does not have a good home life. Like, these are there's a lot of trauma in these books. So I would check your trigger warnings, but I do recommend these. They were a great time. If you really want to feel invested in the characters, invested in the romance, and have a romance with more of like an emotional depth, then yeah, recommend these. Again, go watch the reading vlog where I read Binding 13 if you want more of my in the moment thoughts, but I really enjoy these, and I mean, they hurt in like a good way, but also in a bad way. I feel like I'm not really saying much, but I do want to read, what are the next books after this? I think it's like Saving and Redeeming 6, and those follow Shannon's brother Joey. So I'm excited to pick those up. I don't know when, but Binding and Keeping 13 were big hits for me. And I don't own Keeping 13, so I will just, you know, just trust me that I read that one. The next book I read in October was The Coven by Harper L. Woods. I had this one actually on my list for quite a while, and then Barnes came out with these beautiful special editions, so I was like, I'm gonna read it now. I'm gonna read it now, and I saw a bunch of people reading them in the month of October because obviously spooky vibes, there's like witches and magic. It's like a spicier, I think I would classify this as like a darker romance with magical elements, so like paranormal romance, I guess you could say, because yeah, it felt more romancy and spice heavy than fantasy. I rated The Coven, what did I rate this? Yeah, I rated this 3 stars. I wasn't the biggest fan of the writing. I didn't feel like engaged or attached to these characters in any way, and I don't know if that's just because like they're very short books, and like I said, I feel like it was more focused on the spice, and I didn't even like the spice that much in these. So again, would I recommend this? Not really. Other than if you again are looking for a quick, easy, atmospheric read during spooky season, then maybe read this. I have The Cursed as well, which is the second book. I have not read that one because after reading this, I just like didn't feel like picking up the second one. I wasn't that invested. And I don't know if that was just like my fault because I wasn't in like a super reading kind of mood when I read this. But I kind of, again, general consensus, heard from a lot of people that they were kind of like middle of the road. So would I recommend it? Not necessarily. Unless, like I said, you're looking for something just like quick, no brain power, atmospheric. Yeah. So that was The Coven. And then after that, I briefly tried to pick up A Touch of Malice by Scarlett St. Clair. I believe this is the 3rd book in the Hades times Persephone series. Let me check. Yeah, I believe this one is the 3rd one. I read the first 2 in the series a long time ago, probably like over a year ago. And I think that was part of my main problem, is that it's been so long that I couldn't get back into it. And I haven't felt like reading this. I think the TBR jar picked this for me, and then I just wasn't in the mood for it. So I don't know if I'm soft DNFing or if it's like an actual DNF, but for now, I'm just going to DNF, set it aside, and if I ever feel like picking it up, then I'll pick it up, but I don't know. This wasn't like one of my favorite series to begin with, so I don't know. I have a hard time with DNFing. Like, I'll do it, but actually DNFing, like hard DNFing and then getting rid of a book, I do kind of have a hard time with, because I'm like, well, what if I do feel like reading this later? But I don't foresee it happening anytime soon. So for now, we're putting it back on the shelf. We're gonna consider it, we're taking it off the TBR list, and basically it'll just be one of those books where it's like, if I'm in that very specific mood to read that, then I will, otherwise no pressure. Oh, and then I picked up My Vampire Plus One, which was a new release that this is probably like one of the books I was most excited for this year, because I loved her first one, My Roommate is a Vampire. Like, these are the cutest, funniest rom-coms. I find them to be very unique in their portrayal of like vampires. I feel like most books take a more, I don't know, serious, kind of spicy approach, and these are more like funny, like actual rom-coms. And I don't know, I really enjoy them. I loved that this second installment was about Reggie, who is Frederick's best friend in the first one, and he's very like eccentric. He's very out there. His personality is kind of wild. And so I was super interested when I heard that Reggie was going to be the MMC of the second book. I was interested in how Jenna Levine would go about portraying that, but I really loved getting to know his character better, finding out that he does have like more depth than he originally shows, like in the first book. And yeah, it was just a silly, goofy, fun time. I genuinely love these books so much that I pre-ordered this one and got it signed and everything by Jenna herself. She put this cute little vampire face and wrote it to me. And it came with this like sticker, this Reggie sticker sheet. I don't know. I love these books. I did rate this 5 stars. Yeah, I did. I rated both of them 5 stars because like I said, I'm obsessed. I also love that in these books, they are dual point of view as well as they have like mixed media in them, right? So you get like texts, you get some of like Reggie's journal entries, the fact that he journals, and the fact that he also, I think he's in a Discord server. I don't know. I loved it. I found it to be just so unique, so cute. I don't know. I love these books so much. So highly, highly recommend. I don't think you just need to read them like during spooky season either. I feel like they work for any time, but I was happy that I read it in October. So yeah, that one, smashing success. And then I picked up Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I had seen at the time this floating around everywhere. Like everyone and their mom was reading it. Everyone was loving it, so I picked this up. This was one that I read right before I moved. So yeah, that was a little bit like my bad, you know what I mean? I feel like any books that I picked up around the chaos of moving, I didn't give the full attention that they deserve. Like I did, but at the same time, I think the stress I was experiencing rated like my reading experience for all the books that I was reading. So I did rate this one a 4 stars, which is really good. I did enjoy it. Again, I didn't really feel like super attached to the characters, or like I know that I'm super attached to the characters when the spice hits, but for me in this one, spice was like the characters' relationship but it was a really fun plot. I found this to be I've heard it's like a spin, like an adult spicier spin on the Caraval trilogy. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. You follow Ophelia, and she basically joins these deadly games or trials called Phantasma. So this like house, Phantasma, that hosts the games will show up in different towns and put on these games. And the fun thing about this is that there are like demons and different types of spirits, ones that are more corporeal and ones that really aren't, kind of depending on whether they are, I don't know if I'm making this up or not, whether or not they are like ready to pass through the veil or pass, onto the afterlife. And there are some really fun like twists, some fun things that you find out towards the end. But yeah, I feel like I'd have to like reread this in order to give it its proper attention, but I don't know that I will. Like nothing stood out to me that much to make me want to reread it, but I would recommend again for October. The vibes, the atmosphere were perfect. So that is that. And then all the rest of the books that I read in, let me check, October were read on my Kindle because this was like right in the thick of moving. One of them I did read physically was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I'll put a little picture right here. I did physically own that. I got it used, and then I ended up like redonating it because I was like, it was cute, but I don't think I'm ever going to read it again. I don't even know if I feel like reading the second book, but I did read it like 3.75 to 4 stars. So it follows Pip as she's doing this school project and she's trying to figure out a murder. Like this girl disappeared, they blamed the murder on this one kid, and then they like shut the case, right? And she has her suspicions. Pip is like, I don't know if that's really what happened. I don't know if it's really a closed case. I have my own suspicions. So she does that for her school project and basically becomes a detective and solves this case. It was very good. I did enjoy it. I kind of do want to watch the show, but again, I didn't love it enough to like be like, oh, I need to pick up the next book right now. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of, again, my books at the end of October were very meh, like mid, kind of meh. But again, probably my own fault for trying to read while I was super stressed. And then after that, I picked up Caught Up by Liz Tom Ford, which is the Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the third book in the Windy City series. So I read these on my Kindle. Caught Up I gave 4, I'm trying to like read my ratings here. I think I gave it like 4.75, so almost 5 stars. And then I immediately went into Play Along because that's the one that I've heard everybody rant and rave about, which is the 4th book in the Windy City series. And I rated that one 5 stars. Again, I don't own any of this series physically, but yeah, Play Along is definitely my favorite thus far. And Play Along follows Isaiah Rhodes, who is a single dad. Love that trope. It's like single dad nanny. Great time. Amazing time. I feel like they're the kind of romances that you can absolutely binge and fly through, but then afterwards, when I'm trying to describe like what it's about and what happened, nothing in my brain. It just completely leaves my brain. So yeah. And then Caught Up, who did Caught Up follow? Play Along was baseball. Caught Up was basketball? See, it leaves my head completely. All you need to know is that they were both great. Caught Up, again, almost 5-star rating. Play Along, 5-star rating. I do recommend the series. The first one is my least favorite, as is for most people. Mile High, not my cup of tea. Even if I buy like the series eventually, I don't care to have Mile High on my shelves. So yeah, books 2 through 4 so far though are a definite hit. In October, the last book that I picked up in October, which I also don't own, is Legend by Karina Holly. Don't know if I'm saying that right. I read the first book, which I believe is called Hollow. Where did I put it? I read Hollow last October, like last spooky season, and really enjoyed it. These books are Sleepy Hollow reimaginings, retellings, but like make it spicy. So it's like a spicy, dark academia type of romance. And again, the atmosphere is spot on. Loved that. You do have a bit of like, well, I don't want to give anything away, so I won't mention that trope. But yeah, this follows Brahm and Kat, as well as Kat's professor, like when she goes to university. Oh, Ichabod Crane, duh. That's obviously the whole point of the Sleepy Hollow legend, I guess you could say. I rated Hollow, or not Hollow, sorry. This one was last year. Pretend this one's Legend, okay? I rated Legend 3 stars. Again, I feel like all of the books I read at the end of October were very middle of the road. Nothing too crazy. I did enjoy them. If you like darker romance, you like spice, or you're a fan of Sleepy Hollow, then I would recommend them. Otherwise, probably skip it because it is dark. It is a bit spicy. So I'll just let you choose if you want to read. And then, okay, that's all of the books that I read in October. Like I said, I think I read 11, but I don't own a lot of them physically. And then let's move on to November. I am going to put the stats here. Again, editing Courtney. I read 7 books. Well, technically I read 6. 1 was a DNF, but for the stats purposes, we're putting that I read 7 because the DNF I was 60% through. I read about 2,700 pages in November, which is the least amount of pages that I've read in any month of the year so far. I think the only other month that I read around this amount was March. Like those were my 2 least amount. I did the least amount of reading in those months, which is fine because like I said, there was a lot going on. I was moving. Sometimes priorities need to change. But yeah, so the very first book that I picked up, again on my Kindle because I was mid-move. This is the book that I was literally reading like middle of my move. So I started it right before we moved and then I continued it right after we moved. And that is A Dance with the Fae Prince. This is from an interconnected standalone series by Elise Kova, and the first one is A Deal with the Elf King, which I really enjoyed. I don't know if I just was not in the mood for this or in the headspace to be reading anything, especially fantasy at the time, but I could not, I was so uninterested even at the 60% mark, and I kept going back and forth. I'm like, do I force myself to just finish it because I'm already 60% through or what? And I think I put a poll up on my Instagram stories and everyone was like, just DNF it, it's gonna be fine. So I did DNF this one at 60%. There wasn't anything wrong per se with the story. It was very much similar vibes to the first one where it's just fun, easy fantasy fun times with Faye. I just don't think I was in the headspace for it. So again, I don't know if this is going to be a soft DNF or an actual DNF because of how far I got through it. But if I'm craving like this vibe, like the Elise Kova vibe, I may eventually pick it up again. But I don't know. I felt like the storyline of it and the romance was just kind of like boring. It was falling flat for me. So I don't know. I can't properly say whether or not I recommend this or not because I didn't finish it. And obviously I'm not going to rate either a book that I didn't finish. So that was the first one that I attempted to pick up in November. And that was like right around the peak of like my reading slump that I mentioned in a couple of my reading vlogs. So there's that. But then I picked up Belladonna. And this series got me out of my reading slump. I rated Belladonna 4.5 stars. It was a great time. This follows Signa and death, which I thought it was really unique. The death, like the concept of death, was an actual person, an actual being. And these are very much YA, gothic vibes, romances, but also like Regency era. So you have all of those things going on, tropes that I usually love. And yeah, this was no different. I loved this and I loved Signa. These books are beautifully written. I feel like I talked a lot about these in my last reading vlog. So go check that out again if you want more on these. I was in a headspace again when I was reading these where I was just like, I don't feel like stopping and talking, getting on the camera. I just want to like binge these. So that's kind of what I did, but absolutely highly recommend. Love the romance in this. It's YA, so it obviously is like mostly closed door. But then again, I don't know, there are some scenes, but they're like tasteful scenes, you know what I mean? They're like YA level scenes. But anyway, love these books, so good. And then I immediately went into Foxglove after that, which this one still follows Signa and death, but you get introduced to some new characters and a new possible romance in this one that is very, very exciting. Like you start to see like the setup for the third book, and that made me really, really excited. I rated this one 5 stars. It was great. It was a great time. The other fun thing about these books is there's always like a mystery that needs to be solved kind of in these books as well, which adds another element. Like the plot in these, very fast paced. The romance is great. The character development is great. I loved the relationship, the like friendship that develops between Signa and Blythe as well. Again, go watch my last reading vlog if you want my in the moment thoughts. I'm much better with like in the moment thoughts than I am with after the fact, as we can tell. So yeah, again, obviously highly recommend this entire series. But then, hold on, let me fix my hair. Ow! Oh my god, you know what? This is ripping my hair out. We're just gonna leave this off. Outfit check. Little skirt. Okay. Then, my favorite book so far this year. Like, When the Moon Hatched was my #1 spot for a very long time. I think this one bumped it because the reactions that Wisteria pulled out of me were wild. They were unmatched. Again, go watch that last reading vlog. I'll link it in the description. Yeah, I had a lot of feelings. I sobbed over this one. Like, it literally hurt me. I related to this one so deeply. I flew through this in 2 days. This one follows Blythe and her love interest, and it's just so freaking good. I don't know how to convince you guys to read it other than by going and watching my reading vlog where I just absolutely sob over this. What do I even have to say about this? Blythe is like one of my new favorite FMCs. She is so feisty. She's so just like in charge of herself. Like she does what she wants, she wears what she wants, she does not care what people think of her, which I highly admire and aspire to. So Blythe is like my spirit animal. Anyway, this was a 6-star book, infinity stars. This is sitting at my #1 top spot of 2024 so far, and I don't foresee, I mean, who knows, never say never. I don't foresee anything knocking this off of the top spot, but wow, the ending of this hit me so freaking hard. Highly recommend this entire series. And if you've read the first two and you're waiting to read this one, don't. Like, bump this up on your TBR, 100%. This was immaculate. This was amazing. Miss Adeline Grace put some heart and some soul into this book, and it was just so fun. It felt like the perfect fairy tale, but it was also twisty and turny, and I can't sing the praises of this book enough. So I'll just stop. And then directly after that, I picked up A Photo Finish by Elsie Silver. This is, what number is this? Yeah, I think this is book 2 in the Gold Rush Ranch series, which is Elsie Silver's first series. Like, this comes before the Chestnut Spring series, which I've read the entirety of. When did I read? I read Off to the Races a couple months ago, I would say. And that was good. Like, it was all right. I wasn't the biggest fan of those characters, but this book follows Violet Eaton. And Violet is the sister of the characters from the Chestnut Spring series. And the Chestnut Spring series is like one of my favorite romance series of all time. So already in my head, I was like, okay, like Violet Eaton's story is going to be for me. And it was incredible. I had a great time. This follows, obviously, like I said, Violet Eaton and Cole Harding. They're living in Ruby Creek, which is like the town that all of these books are set in. I believe all of them are set in the same town. And they have some history, which I absolutely adore, which it just makes the spice so much better. And if you know Elsie Silver's writing, like, you know she's the queen of spice, and she writes great MMCs. So Cole was no different. Love him. Love this book. If you want like good small town cowboy-esque romances, Elsie Silver's your girl. So I do recommend this one. I recommend, so far I've only read 2 out of the series, but I do recommend this series. However, this one to me is like levels above the first one. Yeah, so that was that. Oh, what did I rate this? I did rate this one 5 stars as well. So, and then the next book I picked up was, so I did, again, in my last video, I did a TBR jar picks for me, and the title that I picked out of the jar was This Dark Descent by Kaylin Josephson. However, I never got around to actually reading this book in that vlog because I kind of that's when I was getting sidetracked by the Belladonna series. So yeah, I was like, why not read this one still? Even though I like didn't do it for a video. I was like, we picked the prompt in that video, why don't we still read it? And I'm really, really glad I did, because this was so good, so unique. This one's based on Jewish folklore, I believe. The Russell family is famous throughout Enderlane as breeders of enchanted horses, but their prestige is no match for their rising debts. Yeah, steeped in Jewish folklore. Okay, yeah, I found this to be really unique. It follows these like deadly trials, but I would say they're pretty unique from other deadly trials that you usually get in fantasy, because this follows like deadly enchanted horse races. That's pretty unique. So I loved that. And it follows 2 main characters, but it's not like the typical, we're following the FMC and the MMC, and it's like the dual point of views of their romance. No, there are subplots of romance in these books. However, the 2 main characters are both women with their own like separate things going on, but then, they're kind of coming together they're working towards a common goal. I felt the characters in this were so good. The character development and growth was so good. The plot was fun, unique, fast-paced. The concept was great. I got a lot of really good quotes out of this book. It was like beautifully written. All the things. Like, this checked all the boxes for me. I did end up rating it 4 stars. There were times when I wasn't like, I don't want to say engaged, because that's kind of the opposite of what I just said. I was engaged, but there were times where I kind of was just like, instead of being completely in the book, it was just like, I'm reading words on pages. And again, sometimes I think it's just me. Like, it's me that's the problem, not the book. But I would highly recommend this. This was great, and it made me very excited for book 2. Like, the way this one ends. Yeah. I want to read book 2. And I think that one's called Our Deadly Designs. It just recently came out in November, so I would love to get my hands on that one sometime soon. I feel like I didn't really say what this book was even about. I mean, I kind of did, vaguely. But, so this book follows Mikira and Ariel, like I said, 2 different female main characters. Mikira comes from a well-known enchanted horse breeding family, but her family is like down on its luck, and she ends up having to save her father from basically being a slave to like the government. The government is very corrupted, does whatever they want, like the prestigious families, I guess, that like run this world. They come and get her father, okay? And they're like, the only way to get your father back is you have to win this race, and this deadly horse race is a big deal. Like, it's a huge thing, happens once a year. It's called the Ilanir. There's magic, and it's very deadly. So that's kind of like the whole point, right? They're like, okay, you have to go win this race, and in their minds they're like, there's no way she wins this race. She's supposed to win this race with an unenchanted horse. Obviously, she meets some people to help her out, and one of those people that ends up being involved in this whole scenario is Ariel. And Ariel is an enchanter, but she's like unlicensed, which is illegal in this world. And long story short, she ends up becoming involved to help Mikira win this race. And you're following there's different races, different like segments of this race to win the overall thing. And when you win, there's like a cash prize as well as a boon. And I haven't looked it up, so I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure a boon just means like, I don't know, like a granted favor. Maybe I should look that up before saying things, but I believe that's what that is. So basically that's her motivation. That's their motivation. They want to win because there's going to be a cash prize. She wants to save her dad, save her family's like ranch, get the prestige that goes along with winning this huge race. So that's pretty much the premise. There are, like I said, some romance subplots in this for like both characters separately, so that was great. There's some plot twists at the end, some like betrayals and drama, and I just love that. I eat it up, and it made me really want to pick up, like I said, book 2. So that was that one. I feel like I kind of had a lot to say about that one. This book that I just finished in November was Dishonestly Yours by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This one was so good. I loved it. I ended up rating this again like 4 stars. I didn't get the 5-star feeling from it. However, I felt like the plot and the concept behind it was so unique that it was just very engaging and fast-paced. I found myself not wanting to put it down. Every time I was like time to read, I was very excited to pick this up. So yeah, always a great thing, right? When you're excited to pick up the books you're reading. This one follows Phoebe Graves, basically this family of con artists, right? But you have Phoebe, and you have her best friend Haley, and you have her brother Rocky, and they both have other siblings as well. And all of these kids, who are now teenagers and young adults, are raised to do cons. They con like rich people out of their money, and they essentially themselves are pretty much rich, and they live this lavish lifestyle, but it's only afforded to them because they are conning people out of their money, which I feel like the concept of that is so fun. Is it super realistic? Don't know, but you know what? That's the whole point of fiction, right? Is that it doesn't need to be realistic. Like I said, it was very fun. I loved the like drama of it. I feel like the rich people backdrop and the conning lends itself to a lot of fun scenarios, fun personality clashes, and just personalities in general of the different characters and like what their role in these cons are. And the main like purpose of this book though is that Phoebe and her best friend Haley do a job that something happens and it's not good, and they decide that they're basically going to run away from the life of conning that their parents have taught them, and they're going to go try to live in a small town and start over and live honestly. Lo and behold though, who follows them but Phoebe's older brother Rocky. As you might guess, because this is the romance, there is some romance that ensues, and I did really enjoy the romance. It was very much slow burn, but there was a lot of like angst and tension and history between our characters. They get put in a lot of, like with conning, they get put in a lot of like fake dating-esque situations, so you have that aspect as well. But it's done, like I said, in a very unique way. Again, I loved the romance. However, the one complaint that I would have with the romance in this book was that the back and forth, like the will they, won't they, the cat and mouse game of like, I want her, but I can't have her. You know, that kind of situation did get to be a little bit frustrating to me because of how long it went on for. But, you know, on the opposite side of the same coin, I do love slow burn. So the fact that they don't get together right away, I enjoy. So I don't know that that's really even a complaint, other than I just found myself being a little frustrated with them. The cool thing about this book is that the characters are very flawed, but you end up still like caring about them. You end up learning more about them on a deeper like emotional level, what drives them, you know, kind of why they are hardened and why they are the way that they are. Towards the end, there's some twisty, turny stuff happening. And again, I want to know, is there a book 2? Because I need to read it if so. If anybody knows, like if there's going to be a book 2 and when it's coming out, please let me know, because I definitely want to read it. This was kind of like reality TV. Like if you want to think about billionaire tropes, but also reality TV, and yeah, I don't know. I do recommend this one. It was good. I think I mentioned everything that I wanted to say about these books. I'm so sorry if my thoughts were jumbled and chaotic and or not even really there, because like I said, I struggle to go back into the past, especially a month in the past, and remember my thoughts. I'm the type of reader that I could enjoy a book immensely, and then immediately afterwards, everything that happened in that book has left my head. I don't know why this happens. But anyway, those are all of the books that I read in the last 2 months. How many is that? 11? Yeah, I read like 18 books in the last 2 months. I'm hoping that December is going to be a really good reading month. I think my next video that I'm going to do is probably going to be some sort of December TBR, like books that I'm wanting to read before the year ends, plus some maybe TBR jar prompt picks. We'll see. But that is tentatively the video that I plan on making next, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. Hit the post notifications button if you don't want to miss that. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I would also love to know what you guys read in October and November. Did we have any of the same reads in either of those months? Have you read any of these books that I talked about? And if so, what did you think about them? Would love to know all the things. What was your favorite book in November, your least favorite? If you enjoyed, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. That's pretty much everything, and I will see you next time. Bye!